I'm Logan Webb, and you're listening to TortureCast.
Swinging. There's a high drive. Deep into left center field. It's on its way. Adios! Pelota!
Let's go Giants! SF Giants! Let's go Giants! SF Giants!
A grand slam for Buster Posey's good friend.
A podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Chad King, Eric Nathanson, and Willie Dills. This is the Torture Cast.
It's Thursday, May 29th, 2025, and this is episode 314 of the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and man, the last time we recorded 2 weeks ago, they kind of ran into a bit of a rut, losing 5 out of 6, and now this time they're in a little bit of a rut, losing 4 out of 5. We're not trying to plan it this way, it's just the way it's working out. I guess the Giants know we're recording, this is what happens. But I'm here with Eric Nathanson to talk about this and break it down and see, can we do anything to fix this team? How you doing, Eric?
They just don't want us to be happy. They don't want us to have like one of those, oh my God, the Giants are on fire type episodes. It's a little frustrating. Something I noticed during your intro, though, this episode is Pi 314. I don't know why it stuck out to me that this is episode Pi 314. But every time you're right, we set up that hey, let's get together and record later this week. The Giants go into a little bit of a funk, and it's tough. And lately, it's been against these American League teams too. So it's been frustrating to watch. The Giants are looking like the Giants have looked over the last few years. It's a good thing they had a good April.
Yeah, April is keeping them afloat because again, they're one game under 500. Since we keep harping back on it, but it really is like this foundation of that 8-1 start that they kind of have relied upon for their quote success of this year, because they've always been around 500 since then, and right now they're one game under 500 since that 8-1 start. They're 6 games above 500 right now, 31-25. They have fallen back to third place in the NL West, 3 games back of the Dodgers, but now they're also a game back of the final wild card spot, 1 game behind the Cardinals. So, they're falling back in the pack a little bit. Nothing to worry about right now. They're a third of the way through the season, but they can't play 500 ball the rest of the way because that puts them at 84 wins, and I don't think that's going to get a wild card spot. It rarely does. It's done once or twice, but I don't think it's going to do it this year. So, they do have to pick up the pace at some point if they want to make the postseason.
Yeah, the National League is kind of stacked this year. I mean, out east, you have Philly and the Mets doing well, and Atlanta, they're still a little under 500. If they go on a run, they're going to throw their hat into the wild card ring. St. Louis has been a surprise. Milwaukee still has a winning record, 29-28. So, there's going to be a lot of teams fighting for playoff spots at the top of this National League, and it's going to be interesting to see if the Giants can survive. I mean, it's like you pointed out here, 7-7 since we recorded, 1 game under 500 since that great start to the season. Being 500 overall is just not going to cut it. I fear that we are back to the same thing we've talked about for 2 or 3 years on this podcast, is the Giants are mediocre. And this is just kind of them leveling out and showing us that they are mediocre. They had a nice run to start the season, but, they've kind of come back to earth. And it's so frustrating, though. They scored no runs over the last 2 games. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit, is what happened to the hitting. Why can't the Giants hit anymore? Nobody can hit for the Giants anymore. It's like they all fell off a cliff at the same time.
Yeah, getting swept in Detroit. And granted, they have the best record in baseball, but I don't think we've ever really, Detroit isn't one of those teams that I think they feared. It doesn't matter. The point is, their pitching was fine. They only allowed 3, 3, and 4 runs. That's manageable. The problem is they only scored 1, 1, and 3, so they lost all 3. This book ended since our last recording. They started with a 3-game sweep of the A's, and we thought, hey, man, this is a great way to start. And they lost 2 of 3, then won 2 of 3, and then got swept. So that produces that that mediocre 7-7 record since our last podcast. But yeah, offense has clearly been the number one problem right now. The Giants are number one in bullpen in almost everything. The number one in ERA at 2.48, like a full 0.2 of a run better than the next team. WHIP 1.01, batting average against. It's under 200. It's 196. I mean, they are just killing it in the bullpen. So that back end is not the issue. The starters are kind of mediocre, and we know some of the ones that have been pulling it down. You know, we talked about Jordan Hicks, which, by the way, interestingly enough, right after our last podcast, when we suggested get rid of Hicks. Okay, this is not an original thought. I recognize this, everyone. I'm just being facetious. But we said, hey, Birdsong for Hicks. Boom. Next day it happened. So yeah, you know,
I
Hicks and others have,
listens to the show. So thanks for that, Bob.
I mean, you know, I think it's plausible. Let's just leave it at that.
Right.
Their starters are, you know, right in the middle in the ERA. They're kind of in the back end though, the lower third of WHIP and batting average against. So starters, you know, I think they're going to turn the corner a little bit here with Birdsong, and now Harrison's back in the rotation for a little bit with Verlander being on the shelf. But yeah, offense, man. 25th in batting average, 231, 22nd in OPS, 13th in runs, 21st in Ks, the bad kind of Ks. And then, of course, almost dead last in stolen bases, which has always been their bugaboo. They've never had any speed on the base paths. I thought this year, we thought this year with Adames and Jung Hoo Lee, you know, maybe they'd be creeping up in the middle of the pack. Man, that hasn't happened. So, offense has just been a huge problem.
81 stolen bases. They have 26.
No, it's horrific. It's absolutely
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the last 7 days, it's been pretty bad when you look at the whole team. Almost everyone is hitting under 250. In fact, for the season, only 5 guys are above 250, but everyone else is not just under 250. Everyone else is under 225. So there's even a gap, right? Like it's not good, man. It's not good. And I know batting averages have plummeted across the league. I know strikeouts have soared across the league. But the Giants, it just seems to be affecting them more than the average team.
It's even the OPS. I mean, Helio's the only one over 800. Jung Hoo's at like 770. But like, you look at somebody like Yaz, he has 0 home runs this month. Like, his mustache didn't do jack for him. It really surprised me when I looked that up, and he literally hasn't had a homer since April 30th. And part of it is they're hitting so badly early in games. Their batting average in the first inning is like the 3rd worst in baseball. They're like 8th in runs scored in the first inning. And then the other thing that you add on top of it, Giants' biggest struggle the last few years has been against lefties. And they're in the bottom 10 in average and Ks and BABIP against left-handed pitching. And it's killing them. I don't know why. I mean, they have a decent right-handed heavy hitting lineup. I wish there was a better answer, you know, for us out there. But they just don't seem to be able to hit lefties. It's been their bugaboo for the last few years at least. And you know, I don't know how the solution is there. I don't know if they changed their approach. I don't know what it is that they're doing. You can tell we're just frustrated fans right now, and we don't even have an answer for a path to make them better. I mean, yeah, you need to upgrade the first base position possibly. And I mean, maybe Luis Matos doesn't get jerked around as much. You either send him back down or you play him some more. But like, I don't see any other tweaks that they can make to the offense right now to make it better. I mean, do you see anything? How can they even improve this?
Buster Posey was on KMBR a day or two ago, kind of at that 3rd of the season mark. And I mean, he was pretty blunt. They asked him honest questions. He was on with the morning guys, and he said about first base, quote, "We need to get more production out of that position. There's no question. Lamont, I think, it was nice. He got a big hit in yesterday's game, and we're hopeful he can get it going. But at this point, we're going to need some more production. And I think that's the way we're going to kind of looking at this now as some sort of timeshare." So he suggested here, quote, "With Encarnacion coming back, he'll mix in some. Flores might mix in some, and Schmidt might mix in some." I mean, that's his answer right now. And there's no thought about bringing up Bryce Eldridge right now, who is hitting 281 in Double A with 6 bombs. He's doing well, but he's striking out like 27% of the time. He's 6'7". He's got a big hole in his swing. And Posey says he has a lot of work to do defensively, so they're not rushing him at any time. So if any of the fans out there think that they're going to rush Eldridge up to plug a hole, that's not going to happen this season, I don't think. So other than that, other than a trade or something like that halfway through the season, I mean, I think this is what they got. I think when Encarnacion is done with his rehab in AAA, they're going to bring him right up and take a look at him and give Flores some rest. But other than that, I don't know what there is to do. I mean, Wade has been so good there in the years past, and I don't know what's happened to him this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last time. He literally only swings at strikes. So if you're not making, productive at bats when you're just swinging at strikes, what are you even doing here? I think Casey Schmidt, it was telling Monday, the Giants faced a righty, and Casey Schmidt started at first base. So that comes right on the heels of those Buster comments. So that kind of makes sense. That would have been the discussion recently. And I'm curious to see what happens with Encarnacion. I noticed that they have such a set lineup. Bob really, he talked about the other day how they have to really make it a point to get guys like Matos at bats when they can, because the lineup seems so set on a day-to-day basis. And that's what's frustrating about it, though, is why is this the set lineup on a day-to-day basis if you haven't scored more than 4 runs in 2 weeks? The last time they scored more than 4 runs was when they beat the A's 9-1 in the first game of that series. That's a long time to not score more than 4 runs. So maybe don't keep the same lineup going as much. Maybe mix that up. Yaz probably needs to move out of the leadoff spot at this point. He's been really struggling. Maybe put Ramos in there. That's something we talked about in the past again. Maybe Ramos should be the leadoff guy, regardless if it's a righty or a lefty.
I don't think the Giants would do much worse offensively if you put 9 names in a box or in a hat and he just drew them out randomly. I really don't.
Right.
I really don't think they would be worse off. I mean, that's kind of how inept they've been. It's hard because earlier in the season they were showing a lot of fight and coming back in some of these games, but lately the offense, you just have no faith in them, and they haven't been able to muster that comeback. I mean, against Detroit, they did have that 3-0 lead in the third game, and unfortunately they coughed up 4 runs in 1 inning, but they still had time, and they had a couple of threats and just never cashed in. It was just...
Had a huge 8th inning threat where they had second and third with nobody out. And and the Tigers closer comes in and gets out of it. It was just so frustrating. It was like, really? Christian Koss, I think, blew 2 bunt opportunities. They can't even bunt right. They're not doing anything good offensively. It's kind of ridiculous. You're right. You just never expect that the comeback's going to come right now. It was one of those things because I watched the end of the game. I watched the whole game. I managed to tune in by that time. And honestly, when I saw the situation, I'm like, oh, okay, how are they going to screw this one up? And Koss, to me, was the key. He just screwed up 2 bunt attempts, and that was it.
Yeah, but, I mean, every team goes through these, lulls, and they're definitely in a lull right now. You just don't want it to be protracted because, I had a lot more confidence in this team about a month ago, and it just doesn't seem. It seems to be evaporating a little bit right now.
Okay,
but,
so
it's also recency bias as well. So.
Yeah, after all this, though, and seeing how strong the National League is, I mean, would you call them a playoff team at this point, or does it look like they've got things to do to make sure they get there?
As the way they've been currently playing, no, of course not. But 2/3 of a season left. Some of these guys could go on a tear. I'm not saying that. I'm expecting that. But yeah, let's look at the standings right now. Like I already said where the Giants are, but Arizona's still 4 games back of the Giants. They're 2 games under. Colorado, of course, might eclipse the worst winning percentage in Major League history.
They still don't have 10 wins. They might get to June with only 9 wins. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
I know. To give you kind of a side comparison, Minnesota won 12 in a row or something at some point this season. So,
oh my God, you're right.
And they haven't even won 10. But yeah, in the wild card, you got the Giants that are a game out, 1 game behind the Cardinals and the Padres, who are tied virtually. The Mets in that number 1 spot, with the Cubs, Phillies, and Dodgers leading their respective divisions. You got the Brewers are 2.5 behind the Giants. Reds are only 3.5 behind the Giants. But see, those two teams are one game above 500 and one game below 500. And when you're starting to talk about teams that are chasing you that are at 500, that's when you know you need to get your ass in gear. I'm just saying.
Right. I was on that. That's totally how it feels. That's why when I didn't even know they had fallen out of a wild card spot until I saw it in the notes. I was like, really? I was kind of secure that they were at least the second or the third wild card. And then that's when I went looking at the standings, and the National League is strong this year. It's really impressive. Each division has, I would think Atlanta's going to come around at some point, and then in the Central with the Cubs, Cards, and Brewers, each division has 3 teams that could, conceivably make the playoffs. It's a golden. I don't know if it's a golden age of National League baseball, but it just makes it that much tougher. Which is why it's so frustrating, because their pitching staff is just so nailed that just need a little bit more of offense. Swing 2-3 more games in your direction. That's all it seems to be. But this is the strongest I can recall the National League being in a long time. Like, I don't expect Arizona to stay under 500. It really seems like the entire division, except for Colorado, is going to be over 500 this season. And I mean, that's how difficult it is in their own division. And there's 6 other teams in the league that they got to deal with. This is the toughest National League I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I was just noticing the Giants are actually above 500 in one-run games. They're 11-9, so not as bad as I thought. I thought they might be a little bit under, but I guess they technically won a majority of the close games. And they're 4-1 in extras, so at least they got that going for them. Otherwise, they might be 500 right now.
Exactly. Those are the little breaks that they've needed so far, which is why. I mean, I don't know. There was someone on ESPN the other day, and they asked the experts, who is not going to sustain the kind of pace that they've been on. Do they think that the Giants are going to make from the NL West? Do they think they're going to make the playoffs? And all the experts did not put the Giants in there. Nobody thinks that they can keep it up, and they're going to be right if this is the way they continue on offense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of the bullpen, the Giants made a change again to the closer role, and they've removed Ryan Walker and replaced him back with Camilo Doval. So, I mean, so goes the tale flip-flopping. I mean, the closer, we've talked about it so many times. It is one of the hardest jobs in baseball. There's no doubt about it. And they ride hot streaks here and there. And, Ryan Walker seemed unhittable at the end of last year. And this year, he seemed nothing but hittable. Camilo Doval last year was nothing but hittable. And now he seems to have regained some of that composure. So I don't know what the hell is causing this. Neither one of them seems to be off on their mechanics as far as I could tell. They're just not getting the results for Ryan Walker. So, I mean, you feel this is the right move right now?
Yeah, I've always been a Doval fan. Even last year when it was between Doval and Walker, I was in Doval's camp. I think Doval can control better. I think he's actually smarter in that he's learned if one of his pitches aren't working, just stop going to it. Walker seems to keep trying to force it when one of his pitches aren't working. And I'll disagree on the mechanics thing a little bit. That's always, I guess, been my hang up with Walker is his mechanics are such that it's so hard to repeat the exact same thing over and over and over again. And that's what concerns me about a guy like that in his closer. I mean, it's a little different from Tyler Rogers. Like, that guy's got it down to a science. I don't worry about him repeating his mechanics, but the way that Walker was crossfire, that's always been a concern of mine. And it's gotten him in trouble at times. And Doval's just been nails lately. I think the guy made a decision after he struggled early in the year that, I don't care what role they put me in. I'm the best damn pitcher on this bullpen, and he's been close to it. Him and Randy Rodriguez. But, I've always liked Doval as the closer.
Yeah, Rodriguez has been absolutely insane right now.
Talk about an all-star. He is an all-star.
Yeah, 24 and 2/3 innings, only 13 hits. And 36 strikeouts.
Right?
My
That's
God.
the one right there. That's 1.5 strikeouts per inning.
It is. It's a .65 whip, a 153 batting average. I mean, he is, and only one home run given up, and only 3 walks in those 24
How come they never
innings,
talk about making him the closer? Why are we always talking to Doval and Walker? Not that I'm pushing for it, but like they said it on the broadcast the other day. Opposing teams will tell Flynn and whoever's been in the booth lately, like, this Randy Rodriguez guy is a future closer.
Yeah, no, he's been nails, man. So Jesus Christ, he's been one of their stars for sure. But yeah, Doval
Maybe
this year. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe, right?
No.
The first
Duvall.
baseman.
Maybe you trade the ball for a first baseman, right? Like maybe Randy Rodriguez slide into that role, or we could have a new Casilla Romo, kind of Casilla Romo combo.
Yeah, but Duvall 116 in 23 innings, .73 WHIP, 118 batting average against.
Right.
It's even better than Randy Rodriguez. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's no doubt he's been nails. He's been nails this year. So
If
I
he
agree
spots
with
his
it.
fastball, he's phenomenal. And he's so Camilo Tranquilo. You know what I mean? I love how calm he is out there. He never seems rattled. He seems to have figured out the pitch count thing. He's added a slide step to his arsenal. I think Duvall is better now than he was last year. It's been really impressive to see.
And of course, they called up Tristan Beck as well. So we'll see how he fills into some of that role. But Tyler Rogers, like you said, you just trust him. 178 right now. He's had a couple of unfortunate home runs at bad times, but it's also when he pitches. He comes in tight situations. So, when you're coming in to hold a game at 1 or 2 run lead and you give up the lead, yeah, it's going to happen. So
But that's it, though, right? 2 home runs.
He's not coming
right?
in with a five run lead, where it doesn't.
Well,
affect the
I know
game,
Bryce
so.
Harper got him earlier this season, and then somebody got him the other day, and I think that's it.
Yeah, no, he's been really good. So whenever I see someone chastise on him after he gave up one of those home runs last week, it's like, dude, you see what he's done this year? Like, he's not gonna be perfect. Like, give him a break, Jesus Christ. But yeah, so Justin Verlander, I have not heard much about what happened with him. Have you? Because it seemed to be they were keeping it on the down low. I didn't really understand what the hell was going on there.
It was a strained ab muscles, I believe. Something to that effect. He did throw a bullpen, right pectoral strain. He did throw a bullpen, I think, a day or two ago. I caught on the broadcast. So I guess they're hoping to bring him back. But, we kind of foresaw this happening at the beginning of the year. We talked about it. There's going to be times Verlander hits the IL this year. It's just that guy. When you're over 40 and you're still pitching, you're going to be that guy. It's going to happen. So I don't think they'll rush him.
He wasn't on the shelf. Yeah.
Right. That's really how it is. Like you worry about a guy like Wilmer going down because he's fragile and he's been doing all right. But for Verlander, you just kind of expected at some point he would. And I mean, it's good. It gives Harrison a chance to showcase his stuff. They can stretch him out a little bit more now in his next start versus the Marlins than on his last start because he hadn't stretched out that much during the season. And Birdsong, sliding into his part in the rotation. It's nice to see the young guys getting a chance because Webby's kind of struggled a little bit his last couple starts. But Robbie Ray is a steamroller, man. I mean, this guy, the tight pants wearing guy, is just out there every time they have a chance to win. It doesn't matter, what's going on. Robbie Ray gives them a chance to win. It's really nice. So they have a great rotation. It's nice to see Harrison finally get these reps again. But he's still young, so there's going to be a day or two he blows it up. So, but I wouldn't rush Verlander back, would you? I mean, he wasn't really pitching well.
No, I would not rush him back. He's he's not going to get his 300 wins this year or next year or the year after.
He's not going to.
He must be looking at Robbie Ray at 7-0, going, "What can I do, man? Can I have one of those, please? Just one of those?"
Right? I love the juxtaposition between the two. It's just so funny. And one's lefty, one's righty. It's so. I don't know. It's very San Francisco Giants. I don't know how else to put it. I could only see this being on our team, something like this happening. And poor Verlander. He wanted to get those wins, and I don't think he won't make it. He's not making it. What does he need? 38 still?
38. Yeah, still. That's more. That's 3 seasons. Like easily
Right.
3 seasons, and that's just not happening. And he's already a third of the way through this season. He doesn't have a single win. But Robbie Ray, I mean, so far at the 3rd mark, he's your San Francisco Giants Cy Young. That's for sure. Logan Webb has not been bad. He's 2.82 ERA, 1.21 WHIP. He's been okay. He's been fine. That's like below his career ERA. He's just, unfortunately, getting a little bit of Kane action going on where it's just a tight game. So his record's only reflecting at 5-5, while Robbie Ray's sitting there at 7-0. So. But Robbie Ray's been filthy. He has just been filthy. He's been the kind of guy. You know what? That's actually one of the few trades that Farhan pulled that really, really worked out for the Giants. Really worked out for the Giants. Oh my God! I mean, who did they get? Who did they give him in that trade to the Mariners? God, it was
Is that Haniger?
Yeah, it was Mitch Haniger and someone else. But anyway, yeah, this was a steal at this point. Like this was like, it's unbelievable. So they definitely fleeced the Mariners on this one, which is great to see.
I love Robbie. I can't believe they let him go. That's the part that blows my mind. Like, why would you let this guy out of the building?
I don't know. You know, the whole Tommy John thing.
Another pitcher's park up there. Yeah. Let's see here. Anthony DeSclafani and Mitch Haniger. Right. That was the trade.
That's right.
Oh, my God. Oh. No wonder why I love Robbie Ray so much. I hated Disco. Oh. That explains it to me. Oh, man. I used to rail against Disco. The guy didn't do anything I liked. So no wonder why Robbie Ray's my new guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. So anyway, that was definitely a trade that Farhan won for sure. That was probably one of his better ones. So they're profiting off that right now. Buster also checked in with a few other things here. Willie Adames, he said, quote, "Be patient. It's not uncommon when superstar players sign a big deal and struggle out of the gate. You're seeing it too with Juan Soto. So be patient. Willie is a dude." Yeah, I mean, we've talked about him, and he's a great cheerleader, and he's a wonderful teammate, it appears. But, you know, he's got to play better, man. They're giving him the richest contract in team history. So this is not, you know, it'll be fine. It's like, okay. He's hitting, 150 over the last 7 days. Not so good. And what is he for the year now? 208 with just 5 balls.
For the year.
Yeah, for the year.
I don't see anything particularly that he does well. Like, that's what's frustrating about it is I'm being told, oh, this guy's a dude and he's going to turn it around, but there are no signs in front of me to show that is a possibility. And I just didn't pay enough attention to him in Milwaukee, so I had no idea how he'd been the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's like a 250, 260 career hitter, but still, I mean, come on, buddy. Got to show up here, especially with their offense. Patrick Bailey, Buster says about him, quote, "I feel for him. It's not an easy place to be when you're having to run out there and be a leader on one side of the ball and to struggle as much as he has on offense. Patrick Bailey is the catcher for the..." Then they asked him, "Patrick Bailey is the catcher for the rest of the season, right?" And then he said, "Yeah, he's our catcher." So I don't think there's any doubt about that. We've talked about him at length, and he brings too much to the table defensively and with the pitching staff. That, he's hitting, lighter than, freaking Dwayne Kuiper. But the point is...
Yeah, he's on the interstate.
Yeah, he brings so much to the table that he makes up for his offense there. I mean, if he could bring his average up over 200 and get some key knocks here and there, of course they're going to take it. So I'm sure the dude takes pride in his hitting, but he's hitting $174 right now. I mean, that's just oof. And 50 Ks in 138 at bats. I mean, that's rough. That's rough.
And his contact has been weak. He pops the ball up a lot. Dude had a rough day on Tuesday. I mean, he's the reason Bob got kicked out of the game was because he got rung up on a pitch that was just not a strike. And then Bailey is the catcher, and he went and talked to, I think it was Phil Cuddy about it. And then Bob just, exploded after they didn't get a similar pitch. So poor Bailey just looks like he's going through it. It's not even that, you see it in the numbers on his face and everything. So... But they're not going to switch. Buster knows that you can win with a catcher from the 1980s.
Yep, and Buster knows that position better than anyone, so that's going to stay.
Yep.
And then the last thing is about the closer. Buster said, quote, "If it's a safe situation, it's going to be Doval. We feel like this is going to give us the best chance to succeed." And so we already kind of mentioned that. He agrees. That's why they made the switch. So... yeah, nothing earth-shattering, nothing unexpected there as far as solutions at first base. That Bailey's still the catcher. That Adames is a dude, going to be still going out there. Obviously, they're not going to sit him.
I love the guy, though. He's so much fun. He is right up there cheering everybody on. You can really tell he genuinely enjoys this stuff. So I
Yeah.
want him to do well. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom on Adames. I want him to do well. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt about that. He's a fun guy. I'm rooting for him. He's one of those guys that is really, really easy to like. But well, I don't know, Eric. This is the Giants got to turn on the burners a little bit here, especially as they're starting to sink in the wild card. This is something that we didn't necessarily expect. I think we expected it before the season. It is really funny though when you think about it. If the season started after Game 9 and they were at 500 or a game below 500 right now, we'd be like, it's the same old Giants, just like last year and the year before that. It really is just that 9-game start to the season that is making the difference right now. And I don't know if that's an outlier or not now. I'm beginning to think it could be an outlier, and that kind of depresses me a little bit.
We're about to find out. They got 3 more on this road trip in Miami, and then they go home for 7 straight, 4 against the Padres and 3 against the Braves. And the Braves are getting better. Ronald Acuna Jr. is back, so they're not going to stay under 500 for long. So the Giants have some tests ahead of them right now. Like, they got to take care of some business in Miami. 2 out of 3, they need 2 out of 3 coming home off the road trip. I mean, like, they need it so that they can feel good going to the San Diego series, because they got humiliated in San Diego at the end of last month, losing 7-4 and 5-3. I totally remember those games. So they need to show that they can hang. So I think they got some real tests coming up ahead of them right now. This should be an interesting week and a half, see where they're at.
Yeah, their interdivisional record needs to get a little bit of a boost, and obviously the Padres they're going to be competing directly against for, certainly at least the wild card, if not the West. I mean, I doubt that, but point being, they gotta take 2 out of 3 from Miami. They're a weak team this year, so they gotta take care of business there, and then come home and take 3 out of 4 from San Diego. Split is obviously something that they'll live with, but San Diego's playing really well, so it's going to be a tough series. And then, like you said, Atlanta looks like they're only going to get better. Especially, they seem to go on these hot streaks in June. They got Acuna back. His very first at bat, he launches a home run. He's just like, all right, I don't know how someone does that. Haven't seen a major league pitch in how long, and they just come right back. I mean, I know rehabbing and all that, but just comes, boom, just launches one. It's like, what the hell?
Some guy in the Tigers did that the other day too. Yeah, off of Logan Webb. Some guy hit a home run in his first at bat of the season for the Tigers, who just got off the injured list. And I'm with you. Like it's so hard to just hit a baseball in general. How do you manage to connect that well with it right out of the gate?
Yeah. So you're right. I think the next 2 weeks are going to be interesting. Going to be 3 against the Marlins, 4 against the Padres, 3 against the Braves. And so I know I have a lot of travel coming up in about 3 weeks. So I definitely want to get a recording in next week and the week after, and probably the week after that, right before I take off. I want to do the next 3 weeks in a row because I think it's going to be really important as we approach mid-June. We don't want the Giants to go, to go in that feared June swoon. They don't always have it, but we repeat it enough because it's happened enough. We don't want it to happen again. June is literally around the corner.
They go to, after that, Padres, Braves. They've got Rockies and Dodgers on the road, so it'll be good to talk about the NL West. They're really getting into the meat and potatoes of the NL West here at the beginning of June, so I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
And it's different now with the balanced schedule, so they're going to play the NL West a lot less than they used to, which can be good or bad depending on how you look at it. Obviously, playing the Dodgers less is probably a good thing for the Giants. But
I'd like to play the AL Central less. Can we stop playing the AL Central? Swept by Minnesota, swept by Detroit, 2 out of 3 of Kansas City. Like, are the Giants going to lose 2 out of 3 to the White Sox? Like, please, dear God, don't let that happen.
All right, well, before we wrap up, we're just going to go over the transactions and injuries. We mentioned Justin Verlander was put on the IL. That was retroactive back to May 22nd. Tristan Beck was called up on the 23rd. David Villar, he was DFA'd again. He was DFA'd last year, but kind of elected to stay with the team. This time, he did not. He elected free agency. So
he is now a New York Met.
Yeah, he's been picked up by the Mets. So, I mean, good for him. Maybe a change of scenery would be good. I mean, you look at his overall stats. He had over 300 at-bats with the Giants in his career, and he hit an even 200 with, I think, 15 bombs. So he had his moments, but it just never was going to stick with this team. So, good for him. And then, of course, since we recorded, Casey Schmidt and Tyler Fitzgerald came off the injured list and are back with the team currently. But I think that's going to do it for episode 314. Like I said, we'll be back in a week to get you 3 weeks in a row before we might have a little bit of a break as I go on vacation. I was out at sea last week, and I'm kind of recovering from a cold, so that explained the break last week. But we will be back. Eric, do you have anything to...
It's so funny when you say that. Highlight? You're like, I was out at sea. Like, you could be a pirate, like, "Arr, me matey, I was out at sea." Like, some people might not know.
Was blowing
you're a
in my
marine
hair.
biologist. Right, that's what I'm saying. So, the picture could be of you. I was on the high seas, me matey, over the last week, and I caught a little bit of a cold. I don't know what. That's just totally where I went. I have nothing to promote right now. I got nothing to do. I'm happy to be doing Torture Cast. So that's about it. I'm watching Giants baseball as much as I can, and I hope they don't suck. Because this not hitting thing is really scary. It looks like the last few years. So, but I got nothing to promote right now. I'm just totally happy to be back talking Giants ball.
Well, good. You can follow us collectively at TortureCast, individually at ChadK21, and at 2OutHits for Eric. That's with the number 2. We still are on X. Don't check it as much, I'll be honest with you.
Sure.
We do have an email if you want to send us any segments or questions, torchcast@gmail.com. And, of course, like us on Facebook. That's where we probably are more active than anything. And then you can check everything out at torchcast.com. All right, so hopefully Willie will be back next week when we can record, when he is available. But until then, for Eric, this is Chad signing off. We'll see you next week for episode 315. Until then, go Giants. Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.